Welcome back. Wisconsin's Attorney General Josh Kaul is doubling down on his push for a controversial red flag law in Wisconsin. The measure would allow a judge to temporarily seize someone's guns. The AG brought up the idea when talking about gun violence in Milwaukee with our Matt Smith.
Our conversation came just days after a 3-year-old girl was shot and killed in Milwaukee. The result, police say, of road rage.
She had her whole life in front of her over a traffic incident.
That case is an absolute tragedy, and there have been far too many deaths to gun violence.
Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul argues a red flag law would reduce violent crime. He's renewing his push for Wisconsin to join more than a dozen other states in enacting the controversial law.
But I think this is an issue that is relatively new to the broader public debate here in Wisconsin. And I think it's an issue where it's worth pursuing it because I think we can save lives here in Wisconsin.
Each state varies in its reach, but simply put, the idea is to allow law enforcement and sometimes family members to petition the court to temporarily take away someone's guns who is seen as a threat to themselves or someone else.
It's worrisome to us because I think there's Republicans in Madison who would support it.
Nick Clark is president and chairman of Wisconsin Carry, a gun rights group started in 2009.
If there's a person who is a danger to themselves or others, there's currently laws in place that allow you to have that person institutionalized. Now, what those laws don't specifically address is being able to go after the guns. And so this is just about a gun grab. None of these red flag laws, do they ever talk about, well, should we take away the person's car? Should we take away their knives? Should we take away, there's so many other weapons that a person could use, but this is just solely focused on guns because it's a political issue for people like Josh Kaul.
Connecticut and Indiana were the first states to pass red flag laws. Several studies have looked into the law's impact. In Indiana, researchers found a common theme, that the person whose weapon was taken away never got it back. And Duke Law School studied years' worth of data and concluded the law has prevented dozens of suicides, but found it more difficult to track the impact on homicides.
Do you think there's enough data to show that something like that works or is effective?
A number of the states that have adopted those laws have done so recently. I believe we're now up to 15 states. But Connecticut has had a law in place for, I think it's around 20 years.
Okay.
And that law has been effective. It's been effective at reducing suicides. And also, I think, having the option for law enforcement to take action when somebody does make a threat is going to help prevent violence.
We have Matt here now. And so you said in your story that Indiana has the red flag law. Those people didn't get their guns back. Why?
Well, so it's not what you may think. It's not that the fact that the judge didn't give them their guns. The research showed that these people actually didn't show up to court to ask for their guns back.
Okay, so what are Republican leaders and the governor saying about this happening in Wisconsin?
So the governor supports it along with the attorney general. The legislature, not so much. The Senate, likely nothing will happen there. If you look at the assembly, the speaker, Robin Vos, says he does not support this. So really not too much movement we can expect. The interesting thing about this, though, if you look at Indiana, for example, that's a Republican state, a Republican governor, Republican legislature, and they all support this. So it's not necessarily a Democrat or Republican issue if you look at the other states that passed this.
We'll see what happens here.
Yep.
Thanks, Matt. Governor Evers wants to make this the year of clean drinking water. We'll ask Andrea Palm, the head of Wisconsin's Department of Health Services, about his latest move. Plus, what to do about vaping after a Wisconsin teenager showed up at the hospital with lung damage.